between passports because some rules. Nobody tells you.
Hey, I'm Vinny. Welcome back to Between Passports. Every episode on this show starts pretty much the same way. Someone sends me a story, sometimes a friend or a colleague that I ask to share one of their stories. However, I change their names. I remove details. I protect identities. People trust me with something personal, and that's part of the deal. This week, something different happened. The person who sent this story told me, use my name. No filter, no anonymity. And I actually stopped for a second, because it's one thing to tell someone's story carefully. It's another when you know they are going to hear themselves by name for the first time. So, Urmi, this one's yours. I'll just try to do it justice. Where are you from? It is probably the most common question immigrants get asked. Simple question, usually asked with good intentions. But every now and then, someone asks it, and suddenly your brain opens up 6 browser tabs at once, and there's a song playing somewhere. Because which answer are they actually asking for? Urmi was born in Italy. Her family is Bengali. Today, she lives in Canada, which means, depending on who's asking, every answer is technically true. She told me that for years, she lived what she calls a dual life. Not because anyone asked her to, because it was easier. She remembers it really clearly. Outside, life was almost entirely Italian. School, friends, teachers, everything. Home was different. The moment she walked through the front door, the language changed. The expectations changed. Even the version of herself changed. She laughed while telling me this. She said she didn't even realize she was doing it. It just became normal. Italian outside,
Ciao, ciao.
Bengali at home. Different rooms, different versions of herself. Sometimes it was literally different languages. She spoke Bengali with her parents, Italian with her sister, which is actually very interesting to me. Italian at school, of course. Even with Bengali friends outside of the house, they mostly spoke Italian.
Enjoying the story? Follow us so you don't miss the next one.
Home and outside weren't separated by walls. They were separated by language. And when she was younger, being called Bengali wasn't something she enjoyed. And here I want to stop for a second because we know whenever we immigrate, sometimes we could try to hide a little bit where we are from just to try to integrate with this new society we are living in. But for Urmi, it was not because she rejected her family. She just felt watched. Like there were expectations attached to that word. How to behave, how to speak, how to represent the family. Italy felt a little bit lighter, less explanation, less pressure. So when people asked, being Italian was simply the easier answer. One of my favorite things she told me had nothing to do with identity. She told me that every Saturday after school, her dad would stop at a little cafe. He would buy her a chocolate croissant. It's one of the first memories that comes to mind when she thinks about growing up in Italy. Funny how memory works. Sometimes an entire country fits inside one pastry. Then life happened. People grow up. Countries change. People move, and eventually Canada entered in the picture. And here's the funny thing about moving to a third country. It has a way of reopening questions you thought you'd already answered. People would ask, "So, where are you from?" And suddenly, there wasn't one answer anymore. Was it Italy, where she was born? Was it Bangladesh, the culture that shaped her family? Was it Canada, where she was building her future? Or was the question itself just too small for the answer? She told me something that really stayed with me. She said that that question still bothers her, not because it's offensive, because nobody ever seems to mean the same thing. Are they asking where she was born, where she grew up, where her family's from, where she feels at home? Those aren't the same question. They just sound like they are. And somewhere along the way, something else changed. She started looking at her Bengali side differently. The traditions, the language, the stories, the food. She laughed when she told me that growing up, if she came home from school and there wasn't pasta, for example, she would actually get upset. Pasta was home, obviously. Growing up in Italy, that's what you would expect. But so was chicken curry. Weekends moved naturally between Italian meals and Bengali meals. Back then, it was just life. Looking back, she realized she had never really been choosing between two cultures. She had been living both. The things she once wanted distance from slowly became the things she didn't want to lose. Not because she had changed countries, because she had changed. And I don't think we talk about that enough. Sometimes the culture we spend years trying to escape becomes the culture we spend adulthood trying to understand. Eventually, she stopped trying to figure out which version of herself was the real one: Italian, Bengali, Canadian. None of them canceled the others. They weren't competing identities. They were simply different chapters of the same person. She wrote something that stayed with me. My blood tells one story. My birthplace tells another. And where I live tells yet another. And then she finished with this. But wherever I am, and I will always be myself. I think that's one of the quiet lessons immigration teaches us. Identity isn't a passport. It isn't a birthplace. It isn't even a language. It's the part of you that keeps showing up, even after everything else changes. Urmi, thank you, not just for trusting me with your story, but for trusting all of us with your name. And if you'd like to learn more about Urmi and her work, you'll find links in the description. And if you're listening, thank you for spending part of your day with us. I think this story reminded you of someone, or maybe even of yourself. Share with them. Between Passports is available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to share your own story, anonymous or not, you'll find the submission link in the description. I'm Vinny. This is Between Passports, where we ask the question nobody wants to answer out loud. Do I hear an accent?
We are Between Passports. Glad you're here. Share your story at betweenpassports.com.